Well,
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another session. Today we're going to be going over how to win in multiple offer situations. Believe it or not, multiple offers are already happening. There have been already quite a few stories that have happened this year. Talking to someone from just this week where they lost in a multiple offer situation. They knew they were going to be in one. Their client went over asking by $155,000. So this went up to close to 2 million. But they ended up losing. The offer that won went 220,000 over asking and won. And it was all cash. So, and non-refundable earnest money. And we're going to talk about all of those types of things that will help win when you are dealing with a multiple offer situation. Also, there was another broker I talked to just when was that? Just like 2 weeks ago, if that. And their client lost 27 offers. This is over on the east side. But it's definitely starting to pop out there. You know, the competition is clearly, starting to happen. We're getting closer and closer to that spring market. This is the timing when most price appreciation typically happens, is in the spring market. And that's just when more and more people finally will start getting houses on too. So you guys know last year when most people took their houses off the market, right when right after the or right before the holidays kind of kicked off in December, there's always that time of year where inventory will just drop right off, and then immediately, 60 days later, people start putting stuff back on. Well, guess what? The 12th was the 60-day mark. So from about the 12th, 13th on, which we're starting to see right now, is inventory is starting to pour on, starting to come on more and more. So you really need to start paying attention and talking to your clients about, timing when you're going to bring listings on. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different strategies today for both buyer brokers and sellers. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Right. I need to get my clicker. I'm going to start you guys off with a pop quiz. I want you guys to think about this, and then as soon as I come back, I will, since I got to go grab my clicker. What key element is the seller looking for in every single offer? So think about it, and then you're going to answer after that. I'm running. What you got, Quasi? What do you think?
Uh, I think that's a tough question because I think each seller is gonna be different on what they want.
What do you think, Josh? I know you're new,
Yeah.
but welcome, by the way.
Thank you. I'd say maybe asking price, but again.
Price, yeah, that's, a lot of times people really focus, it's always the money, right? What do you think, Almas? What's a sell, what's the key element a seller's looking for?
Changes like how when you're gonna close and money and inspection web and all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah, you think it's a lot, yeah, but there's one key thing, and it's certainty.
Oh,
Sellers are actually looking for certainty, and certainty is a firm conviction that something is the case. Like all the time you hear about these deals that, fall apart or die at the last minute. I myself even had a deal last week die, and it was supposed to close tomorrow. Last week, the buyer lost his Amazon job. So those types of things like can happen, but if you can convey certainty in your offers, that is the key piece that a seller really wants to know that, like, yes, price is always a big thing, but it's not always the thing that's gonna win. If you, find out what that key element is, on what they really need in order to move, that's gonna be all the difference. But certainty is what you gotta convey. So you guys know that the 6 phases to the yearly housing cycle, this happens every single year. This is just how our market works. We are literally just about to kick off into the spring market, right? We're right here. These are all listings coming on the market. So that is when more and more listings are gonna start coming on. And again, this is where the most price appreciation happens. How do you even know you're gonna be in a multiple offer situation? Let's start there. What are some key indicators?
Communicating with their listing agent.
Yeah, communication, definitely gonna help. How else? How else do you know, Almaz?
Communication with the listing agents.
Yeah.
Number of show.
What about price? What about you knowing like this house in this area or like, how much did they list that for?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, that's way too cheap. There's no way this is gonna bring like 800 buyers out of the woodwork, right? So even there's like a lot of other things, but right in the listing too, it actually has offer review dates.
Yeah.
Now, is that a for sure indicator? No, I mean, they're expecting it though, right?
Yeah.
And it is a good idea to use that strategy to do an offer review date. Now, if you are never sure, let's talk as a listing broker, if you're never sure and you're not positive if this property is gonna get multiple offers, you know that you can actually turn that feature on and edit the listing after it's already on the market. So it's a good idea if like this is why we try to always strategize and list on Thursdays or Fridays. Because then the open houses are pre-scheduled, they're already in there, as soon as the listing hits the market, everybody knows, right? So as soon as it's online, everyone can see that open house is there. But if all of a sudden you're getting a lot of activity, your open house is packed, you're getting tons of scheduled showings, right? You really gotta pay attention, and then if you start getting that one question, what's the one question buyer brokers are asking when they are anticipating multiple offers and maybe you didn't?
Say that one more time.
Like, what is one like question you might get from buyer brokers that might give you an indicator that you maybe should have a multiple offer or a offer review?
Do you have any offers in hand?
Exactly. I know Amaz was gonna say that. Do you have any offers? Yeah. Do you have any offers yet? That's another, if you're hearing that a lot, you better get with your seller and talk and say, okay, let's go ahead and put in a plan to actually turn on their offer review date. Typically, what's the best day? Usually you want to get over that weekend, right? You want to create, like Lennox says too, he's like, create FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, because people like, if you get multiple people bumping into each other, and then all of a sudden they see that, oh no, there's like 5 other buyers waiting to get in here, you see the line of cars that are showing up for showings. These types of like things could make it to where you might want to talk with your seller and get that added. So you can always do that even if you aren't sure about, there's gonna be multiple offers. You can always implement that. So don't forget that, because sometimes you're like, oh no, now I'm getting offers are coming in and and stuff like that. So it's just a good strategy for you to be able to turn that feature on when you need to. Almas?
Sometimes the listing agents put the offer review dates. And then you waited to strategize your offer and stuff, and then before that, you see it's pending.
Oh, yeah.
So what kind of, like,
Yeah, so I mean, Kwesi and I were just talking about this even beforehand, like there's a key wording that it says. Right here, in a parentheses, when you turn that feature on, it says may review / or accept sooner. Those words are in there. Now. Could you go in early? Absolutely. It's all about communicating to to the listing broker and say, hey, is there, so you guys are anticipating multiple offers. How's your open house traffic been? You really got to start strategizing and know for sure that, hey, if you can convey certainty in your offer and you're going to get that sent even before the review date, you could win before the competition even get started. So you absolutely can do that. Could it backfire on you? It could. I mean, there's been other scenarios where I was helping someone last year review like a strategy for an offer, and we were looking at the price, and I go, man, that's actually kind of high for this area. Are you sure they're gonna get multiple offers? And they're like, well, they got an offer review date. I'm like, well, let's look at they had one open house. But let's look at their activity. Let's look at, what's going on for showings. There wasn't a single showing schedule. It's like, you sure? I mean, there's no one else scheduling. I don't see a single other showing. Like, see, there's nothing in here. So I don't know. You really got to analyze every single deal, right? And it's going to be different every time. All right, so the relationship we create with other brokers and vendors is everything, right? There are VIP clients, returning calls, emails, doing what you say you're going to do is critical in our business. The brokers to whom you present your offers to will either choose to work with you because you make their lives easier, or they won't work with you in today's multiple offer environment. Treat them the way you want to be treated in any and all situations. What goes around comes around in life. So when you're communicating, you make sure you're smiling, make sure, when you're talking to them that you are conveying that, you're a great broker to work with. If you call, and you're like, how many offers do you have? I mean, you guys have heard it. I guarantee it. When you get some brokers call, it's like right away, you're deciding on the phone, do I even want to work with this other person? So you got to keep that in mind every time you're making these phone calls. A lot of times brokers just shoot themselves in the foot just from their conversations, and they don't even know it. They don't think about it. Properly educate your buyers for today's seller's market. Buyers must know many homes sold today are in multiple offer scenario and were sold above list price, as they may never get a chance to counteroffer. Present current market statistics to reflect how quickly our market has changed, and properly educate your buyers to the current market. The goal is to manage their expectations and prepare them to come in as strong as possible. As soon as they are aware and they understand, that they're going to be competing, then you can start strategizing in the offer itself. But if you don't do that at all, what's the typical situation with buyers? What do you think? What are they saying? What are they doing?
Their default is to whatever they're hearing on the news or what they heard from family
Family and
friends.
relatives, friends. Oh yeah. Like, what are you doing? The market's terrible. Why are you yeah. Or have you ever done this? If you have a buyer that you're working with and this property just came on Friday, and they already had like 7 showings scheduled, and they've around the open houses that are already pre-scheduled. Is that a pretty active property? And then all of a sudden on Sunday, they're like, oh yeah, we love it. Let's write it up. And they say to you, yeah, Kwesi, I know it's listed for 950,000. Let's offer 895. You never know, they might take it. If they say something like that to you, what that actually kind of tells you is that you didn't do a good enough job explaining the market or explaining that property, right? If you showed them the proof, you showed them like, look at this neighbor's house. Like, they didn't even do as many updates or upgrades as this, subject property that you love. Look at that, and it sold for $945 just 2 months ago. Right? You've got to be totally explaining the market so that they can get the clear picture. Now, of course, you're gonna run into some clients who it doesn't matter how much evidence you give them, they may oh yeah, I still want to offer $850. That kind of stuff will happen, but if you do a good enough job, you shouldn't. So let's look at some other things. What tools and technology can you use for this to explain the market? What about your housing updates, right? If your clients are getting the housing monthly updates every single month for that area, probably give them a pretty good idea of what's happening, right? What else? What's another thing you can get for your clients? For technology to explain the market. Zoom people, you're pretty quiet today. What about Market Insights, Property Tracker? Sign them up for that, for the Market Insights gives you a really good idea because you can actually do hyper local. You can draw around one condo building if you wanted to. That's definitely going to give them insights to what's happening in that market. What about your buy side? You can sign someone up for buy side for an area or for at least a property, and it can give them that monthly insight and also show them what type of buyer competition they might be dealing with.
I just have a quick question on buy side. Is that buy side just the people that are in John L. Scott, looking in John L. Scott?
No,
Okay,
no. Like when it gives the funnel.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that comes from Zillow, Realtor.com, and there's a couple other ones. I don't think
Okay.
Homes.com's. I don't know. I don't know if they ever got that. They were trying to get that from
Gotcha.
Dot Loop, I think. But yeah.
okay.
Trend graphics. Trend graphics is a great tool to really pinpoint and give people data for an MLS area, community. I mean, these are all the other tools you could be giving and using to show proof to a client. And then, of course, like using your home search app, you can literally show them in the field, right? Let's look at the other houses around here, what's sold. All right, buyer ready day one checklist. First things first is gotta start with that buyer consultation. You guys know that obviously more than ever. I mean, you can't even work with a buyer unless you have a contract signed. It's a misdemeanor if you don't. So it's a state law, gotta happen. Explaining how multiple offers work even during your consultation will be a good idea, especially if you already know they're in a beginner's price point or first time home buyer, price point. You're gonna know. Market conditions by price range and of course by location. The home buying strategy guide is fantastic. They even have that in a couple other languages. JLS housing update, you're going to want to use Market Insights, instant response market. All right, time for another quiz. Got your number 2 pencils, I hope. What is the one key element to all multiple offers? We said it earlier. I heard someone even say it. It was like the first thing. Mhm. That's what a seller's looking for. What's the key element to all multiple offers? I think Quasi even said the word. Got it. Communication. Communication. You've got to be communicating. I know you guys got these supercomputers in your pocket, right? There's more technology now in this phone than there was when they launched the rocket to the moon, right? I mean, it's crazy how much technology is in this, right? But it is a telephone. You've got to use it and really communicate back and forth. Yeah, I am so surprised even today, like a lot of people just send text messages, right? I mean, how many people are like seriously like you're dealing with millions of dollars of real estate. And you are having someone, a buyer broker, you're listing brokers, right? And they're texting you these things like, are you, I mean, isn't that what happens every week? Even for myself, I'm like, why don't you pick up the phone? And it's almost one of those things, do I have to call you? Like, it's obviously you're asking questions, you're inquiring, it's like, what, you know, how much more could you accomplish if we just communicated?
Agreed.
Next time, if you feel like, oh, I'm just gonna text, whatever this, I wanna challenge you and see if you can actually just say, you know what? Most of the time I would do that, but if you took the time to actually communicate, you can actually get farther. Cause have you guys seen those, like that Key and Peele skit when they're like texting each other? Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
Yeah. And they, well, it gets misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Talking about, yeah.
Totally misinterpreted about what?
Mhm.
What are you talking about? Oh, you want, oh,
Oh, you want
oh,
to
it's
fight?
on, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah?
First
Looks
round
like
on
first
me.
round on
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's so damn funny, but it is true. Cause there are so many times where you just misinterpret things like that. There's, there's no human, you know, when you see stuff like that, you're just interpreting of what the word is, you know, what the words are. And words have different meanings. And it can really mess things up. So I challenge everybody to just communicate more face to face or voice to voice. If you have not read the book, Seven Levels of Communication, Michael Mayer.
Yeah, something like
Mayer.
that.
It's
M-A-H-E-R.
real estate specific. It's actually on real estate. I mean, it really, when you read it, you really understand like, oh yeah. Communication has really changed through the years. And if you wanna like get stuff done, get face to face or voice to voice. Call the listing broker to inquire about any special seller needs. That is, I want you to take those words down. Special seller needs. Are there any special seller needs at all? If anyone has heard of the CNE, Certified Negotiation Expert, or the CMNE or CMNE, Certified Negotiation Expert. If you have not checked into that class, it's a fantastic course. It's harder to find out because the guy retired. And Rainey, I think is the one who put it on. But you can get that designation. It's a couple of days.
Did
It's
you
a
have a
really
good last year?
well, we tried, but that's what happened. It ended up like he shut it down. So that's why I tried getting both of the classes for us last year in person here. And the first one, we were starting to get people to sign up and then our instructor said, hey, I gotta let you know, I'm sorry, but we can't do the class. The owner's retiring and he's selling the company. And until it gets sold and but I mean, fantastic course. It really teaches you about negotiations, about how like not just splitting the difference is, you know, a lot of brokers just, oh, let's just split the difference every single time. Like, that's not a good negotiation tactic or even idea sometimes. They really just go over everything on how to negotiate. But one thing I really learned from that course was about, hey, is there any special seller needs? And the first time that I actually used it, it worked and it just blew me away. Calling for my buyer and called the listing broker, said, hey, understand that you got, you know, looks like you guys are gonna have, you know, multiple offers, you know, congratulations, you know, great listing. I mean, this place was like really dialed in. They had perfect staging. I mean, totally remodeled and stuff, did a fantastic job. Buyer really wanted it and called up and just said, hey, you know, can I ask, you know, are there any special seller needs? And he goes, actually, there is. This is the seller lost his wife. And you know, he's really not sure where he's moving to yet. He has to sell. I go, well, would it be helpful if we gave you guys like a free rent back, you know, for a month to allow him to figure things out? And you know, and he needs help moving because the guy was like, he hasn't figured out any moving. And I had a great referral for a moving company. So I said, hey, call these guys, they're fantastic. They do package, I mean, they do it all. They'll come and package everything and he's like, are you serious? Yeah, this is amazing. He told his client and client said, we want their offer. Just literally just moved everything aside. We didn't have to overpay or anything. So it's like stuff like that, that it really kind of clicked in like, hey, what is it that that seller needs? So you should ask that when you are calling the listing broker, not texting them, but calling. Say, hey, is there any special seller needs? For example, preferred closing date, excluded items, asking about listing broker needs. Is there lender or escrow company that they prefer that you are also comfortable working with? So really just kind of like catering to them and their needs when you're making that call, but write that one down, special seller needs. Sellers and listing agents are not only looking for the highest offer, but also the one that minimizes their risk and gets them to a smooth closing. It is not the highest offer that is accepted, and of course, be nice. It's not always that. Kill them with kindness. All right, let's look at some ways of making the deal stronger in Form 21. Offer expiration date. How are you gonna know what to fill in on this? What are you gonna do?
Talk to the listing agent.
Communicate the listing broker. Like how much time, like when are you gonna get to meet with the seller? If I give you tomorrow, till 9 p.m., is that plenty of time? Should you be able to get an answer by then? You're not gonna know these things unless you communicate. If you just blindly send offers, how many people have ever received an offer and you never even heard from the broker? They didn't call, they didn't text, they didn't email, they just sent an offer. Has that happened to you? Never?
No, it happened.
It happens, huh? And when you get it, what do you do?
Well, you said I got an offer, you just immediately call them.
Yeah. Then you have to do the communicating, right? Have you ever received an offer, just they didn't communicate at all?
Oh,
Just
for
an
sure.
offer? For sure.
Sure.
That's crazy to me. That is crazy. Their client is putting all of their trust into them on probably the largest purchase they've ever made in their life. And they're not even calling you or communicating. That's scary to me.
Actually, I'll tell you a crazy one was. I had somebody send me an offer, didn't say anything, didn't call, didn't text, didn't anything. Next thing, after review date, after the time we reviewed it, it went,
It
we
expired.
went pending.
Yeah.
They called and they were like, hey, did you like accept our offer? Did you like review our offer? And I was like, well, I didn't even get an offer from you. She was livid. She was like, I sent you an offer, this and that. Managing broker calls me, says, hey, my agent said they sent in an offer and you didn't review it. I said, I never got an offer. Calls me the next day and he was like, hey, my agent sent you an offer, you didn't review it with your client, this and that. He wanted to call the MLS and talk. I was like, whoa. I still don't have her offer. She had messed up on my email address, but got everybody involved after the fact,
That's
but never
the craziest.
communicated that they were sending an offer or that they were never even that they were interested. So, and it all went away because all she did was spell my name wrong in the email and it didn't come to us or the firm.
She didn't even send it to the
She didn't
firm.
even send it to the firm.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen for real. I mean, who knows? Their offer could have been fantastic. Could have been better for Quasi's seller and him, but who knows? You cannot not communicate. That is just crazy. Next thing is obviously purchase price. How are you gonna know what is gonna be the best price? It's all gonna come back to that communication and understanding the market. And can you, actually put a price in that's gonna matter to the seller? Are you gonna create certainty for the seller in your pricing? It's all gonna be an important piece. And of course, the earnest money amount. How much earnest money are you guys seeing right now? What are you guys seeing? What percentage?
I mean, for me, I feel like it's all over the board, but that's kind of what I'm interested in knowing from this. Like, if there's one thing I want to get from this is what,
So what I'm still seeing when reviewing sky slope files, they're still in the 1% range.
yeah,
But if you are looking at multiple offers, then you're probably closer to the 3% to, or even up to 5%.
yeah.
If you're above 5%, it doesn't quite make any sense. Why? You guys know why?
Has something to do with like the total amount and, uh, yeah, after a certain amount, it's like irrelevant because of some statute, right, or something like that.
Yep, you're right around it. That's.
I know.
What is it, Robert? I was gonna ask you too.
So if there's an interpolator, they can only get 3%.
5%.
If they yeah, they can only get a certain percentage back, even if you paid more of the earnest money. There's only it's limited in an interpolator action.
It is. 5% is the cap. So.
Okay. Yeah.
If you guys are going above 5%, it's kind of like, I think the craziest earnest money I've ever seen. And when my broker called me, I thought he was kidding. This had happened to me back in South Lake Union days. He called me and said, "Hey Eric, we listed this property for like 800 something thousand. It was like a pre-foreclosure or something like that." He goes, "Can they do this? They're offering 100% earnest money." I go, "What?"
Wow,
They literally wrote all cash, close in 5 business days, waive earnest money, non-refundable, and the purchase price, let's say it's 850, I can't remember the exact amount, but let's say 850,000. The earnest money was $850,000. They deposited 100% of the purchase price.
Wow.
wow,
The buyer had to bring in their half of escrow money, that was it. To close the deal.
wow.
Pretty crazy. I mean, you talk about
So,
creating certainty. Whew.
so in that scenario, if something happened
Yeah,
and they said, well, we can't close on this deal. You're saying if they didn't sign off on that, seller gets our earnest money
mhm.
and it goes to interpleader.
5%'s the cap.
Wow,
Although, go get an attorney's involved. Who knows what they're gonna do, but it says right in our contracts, 5% is the max.
got it.
So all of this is gonna come together from communication, though. You've really gotta communicate to understand what you're doing in each of these. Cause sometimes, like you said, automatically people just think price, like that's what's gonna win. Not always. Earnest money still 1 to 3% or more. Here's a reminder about earnest money. We gotta go through this for the Department of Licensing. If the buyer delivers the earnest money directly to the closing agent or holder of funds, then the listing and selling firm's files must include a receipt showing timely delivery by the buyer. In our Sky Slope, there's a spot for earnest money, and it's required on every deal. You've got to get that copy receipt and upload it into Sky Slope, right? That's the firm's file. If the buyer delivers earnest money to the buyer's broker, then both the listing and the selling firm's file must include a receipt showing timely delivery to the broker's or to the buyer's broker, and a separate receipt showing timely delivery to the buyer's broker to the closing agent or holder of funds. If the buyer fails to timely deliver earnest money, the listing and selling firm's files must contain proof that the listing and selling broker put the seller on notice that the buyer failed to timely deliver earnest money. This bottom one right here is where in our Department of Licensing audits, we get stung on the most. What they're telling us is that when you guys get receipts from escrow, if if you did not pay attention and look at the timeline and say, oh, it says here, buyer's gonna deliver earnest money within 3 days. All of a sudden they deposited on the 4th day. That was late. If you don't pay attention to the day, like that's the very first, you know, pretty much contingency that are, that's in our contracts that puts teeth in the contract for our sellers. And it gets missed all the time. All the time. We had one last week. And guess what? They had on their deal, they had $3,000 for earnest money. Check this out. They deposited $2,000.
It's late.
It's late. They're late. Our broker was like, well, they deposited $2,000. No. If we don't do this, we have to put our seller on notice because they have a right to what?
Cancel.
They have a right to terminate that deal. Yep. Is it 90A? I believe it's 90A. Earnest money wasn't deposited on time. Seller has an option to terminate that deal. If we don't show proof in our file that that email went to the buyer broker, to our seller, I would BCC the seller and say, attention buyer broker and buyer broker's firm, send it to both. Gotta send it to that authorized firm email address and notify them that, hey, earnest money was late. The seller is being notified to their, for their rights in the contract. And it'll be up to the seller whether we continue or not. All we need is that documentation added to the file. If it's not in there, you will hear from the DOL. And they're starting to crack down way more. 2005 is like when they implemented, when agents became brokers in the state of Washington. From that shift, that put more responsibility on you guys. So ever since then, they're coming for people, man. This year, actually, get ready. The audits are gonna be very focused on buyer agency agreements. It's gonna continue with these. And the other one that they always gripe about is no communications in the files. All your pertinent emails, from communication between clients are supposed to go in your SkySlope. If you don't have no communications, you'll get dinged on that one too. And basically our last 3 audits that I can even remember had both of those issues in it.
And when you say pertinent, what?
Pertinent emails between the client is, hey, during your inspection, are you sure you don't wanna hire an expert to come back and do further evaluations? No, I'm good. Like that email, that's pertinent for the file.
Got it.
And all, your SkySlope, every time you turn in deals and you create, a deal in SkySlope, it makes a unique email address for just that file.
Yeah.
All you have to do is copy that email address and just send it forward with every single and then also text messages. One of the best, I'm telling you, there's a saying in this business, he or she who documents wins in a court of law. Both of our cases last year that went to court or got close to it, we won because of documentation. Literally, text messages, emails, those things should be in SkySlope. You've got to forward those in there. Okay, do not forget if you do get the buyer's money, because an old school kind of way of writing offers was, oh, I'm ready, seller. Look, I'm writing my check all the way to your escrow already. It's already filled in, right?
Yeah.
And they make a copy of the check.
Mm.
If you do that, you have to include the Form 89. If you don't, you just broke this DOL rule. And who gets a copy of this? Who gets a copy of the Form 89?
The broker and the closing agent.
Everybody, yeah. You're supposed to send copies to the other firm. They're supposed to have that in their file. This is how it's always been. There's one broker in here that's really good about it, Saab. He does that every time. He still does it that way. And he has these ready and he sends it to everybody. Well, now it's TC does it. but sends it to everybody. But you have to do that. It's in the Department of Licensing that you will do it. So if you touch that person's check at all, you make a copy of it, boom. You have to do this. Form 89s.
So, Eric? They deposited, the earnest money is supposed to be 3,000, they deposited, they wrote for 2,000. And then they're late. So,
Like what happened in that case?
yeah,
So in that case, like example I gave you of a real world scenario that just happened last week to one of our listing brokers. The earnest money amount on the contract was 3,000. Earnest money got deposited on the last day, for them to, make their deadline, and they only deposited 2,000. So they're late, because contractually they were supposed to do 3,000.
yeah,
Our broker did the email to notify the seller. And to both parties, both firms, and then told them to put the copy into SkySlope so that we've covered the Department of Licensing requirements. Right, and gave the right to the seller to what?
to do the amendment.
To terminate, because that's a seller's right. If we don't follow the contract, we're in breach. So after that, the seller said, that's fine, 2,000, whatever. So they made an addendum to say, for clarification purposes, earnest money deposit shall be $2,000. Both buyer and seller signed off on that. They've uploaded it, they've amended it, but they at least followed the Department of Licensing rules. So if you don't do that, you're in breach. All right, time to talk about good old non-refundable earnest money. Still happening, right? You guys know in our office clauses, we have this attorney drafted clause for non-refundable earnest money. So in Transaction Desk, if you're in a Form 34, you can click in the body of the Form 34 as when you're about ready to type, and that little pop-up box will show up and it says clauses. You click on the clause, it will show the 3 boxes, the 3 folders, and you click on office clauses. In office clauses is the non-refundable earnest money language. So it will input this whole thing for you. So number 1 is amount of earnest money deposit shall be released to the seller within 2 business days of mutual acceptance. Immediately upon delivery of the earnest money, the released funds shall be the property of the seller and then shall become a non-refundable deposit, but will still be applicable towards the sale. If this transaction fails to close for any reason other than default or breach of this agreement by the seller, said non-refundable deposit shall remain the property of the seller. Nothing in this paragraph precludes buyer from legal remedies from seller's default or breach. So this came from an attorney. It's been used many, many, many times. It's a little bit dangerous. How do you get money back from someone's wallet or purse? I mean, really, how do you get it back?
Go up to the door.
Good luck. Yeah, show up, show up to the door. How do you get the money back once it's gone and released? I had a buyer call me once. And he's like, hey, I see you're a designated broker. I have some questions. I'm like, who are you? Oh, my name's, so-and-so. I was a buyer on a property for, some, and I'm like, okay, it's not our listing. That wasn't even our, I'm sorry, I'm not an attorney, nor have I played one on TV. I cannot give you legal advice. He goes, no, I totally understand that. I just want to know, I released my earnest money as non-refundable and the seller didn't close. They didn't show up on time. Then my loan rate lock got messed up. And then the lender said, well, now I need 2 more days. Then the seller came back and said, oh, you can't close now. I'm keeping your money. And I was like, to me, that sounds like you better hire a real estate attorney. But he was just like, and I gave him non-refundable. I said that was the only way that they would move forward. So these types of things happen. They're dangerous. It's just, how do you get the money back? These are one of the things yeah, you can do this, but is it a good idea? I don't know. I understand that you might have to do this. Buyer might have to do this. Let's look at another way, the JLS NRF. Donald Scott non-refundable fee addendum, one of the best things Andy did for our company. He came up with this. Andy Fitzsimmons like loves this, loves this idea. Have you guys seen this?
Mhm.
Has anybody not seen this yet? You haven't seen this yet, Andrew?
May have. Go.
So the non-refundable fee addendum is very different, okay? It actually goes into disclosures about, hey, there's risks, you know, to buyers and sellers associated with non-refundable fees. Parties are advised to seek legal counsel before signing. So it actually says buyers shall pay a non-refundable fee, and now it's quoted as the fee. It's now referenced as a fee, not an earnest money, but a fee to seller in the amount of dollar amount. Oh, within 2 days of mutual acceptance. The fee shall be deposited with the closing agent and released to seller as soon as practicable upon closing agent's receipt of immediately available funds. The fee shall be applied to the purchase price, right? Because part of the language like we were seeing in contracts was nothing about this money being applicable towards the sales price. There's one court case that happened where the seller's like, yeah, thanks for that money. I took your deal. And then they're like, oh, that's separate money. That doesn't go towards the purchase. And it never said that. And escrow was like, getting their attorneys involved. And they're like, what do we do here? And they're like, well, the seller's got a point. It doesn't say that it's to be applied to the sales price. How do we know? That's not what they meant. And so then the buyer was pissed, like, of course the $50,000 was gonna be towards the purchase price. What are you talking about? So they ended up in court. You don't want those types of situations. So next is that buyer understands and agrees that the fee is not earnest money and is non-refundable under any circumstances other than a default by seller. Seller default, although following, select all that apply. Of course, you better mark both these boxes because it says seller's exercise of right of termination in the agreement for a reason other than buyer's default. So for that seller backs out, doesn't close, doesn't show up on time, then that's supposed to constitute a refund, right? It's called a refund event. Seller's inability to provide insurable title pursuant to general term E of the agreement. So if all of a sudden they can't clear a title, like, you better give my money back. You can't sell. It's your fault, seller. So see, there's nothing about those earnest money, you know, when you release non-refundable, it just kind of vaguely covers, oh, if seller defaults. But this is giving specific reasons. So it's kind of already makes it better. Seller default and the items selected above are each a refund event. Other than the occurrence of a refund event, there are no contingencies or conditions that will allow buyer to recover the fee. If this transaction fails to close for any other reason other than a refund event, the fee shall remain the property of seller. Buyer therefore understands and agrees that with respect to the amount of the fee set forth herein, there are no contingencies. This addendum does not affect buyer's right, if any, to recover earnest money in connection with any contingencies in the agreement. Now, the JLS NRF is a great tool, but you have to understand fully how it works. And what's harder is that you got to explain it to other parties. Because the front of our contracts, do they say a non-refundable fee or a fee? It doesn't. It just says earnest money. So if you wrote $20,000 earnest money and you put 20,000 NRF, non-refundable fee, how much is the buyer supposed to deposit? $40,000. And this confuses escrow. This confuses the listing brokers because they're like, what? It's separate money. So if you want to give a non-refundable fee and you want to still have earnest money, you can do that. I've seen some people do it zero earnest money on the front and they just do a non-refundable fee with the non-refundable fee addendum. Question?
So I've only used that on the listing side and I used the other one for the buyer side.
Oh, so you had them use this as a non-refundable, like,
Well, for the simple fact of the multiple money and having to explain it.
Yeah.
Communication. So when we talk about certainty, if I'm trying to, the second I start explaining something, especially a form, agents are like,
Yeah,
so I don't know. But if they're representing the buyer and the buyer really wants the house, they're more likely to be like, well, sure, how often do we just sign a Coldwell Banker?
Yeah.
You know, they got this crazy disclosure form and it's like, just sign it, it's a disclosure,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, you explain it to them, but
yeah.
this one's a little complicated, so I just use the other one for the buy side. Is that like,
Well, I mean, you can see how the risks are, I mean, this kind of outlines exactly what the fee is. And it makes more sense. Annie Fitzsimmons was like over the moon over this addendum. This is the greatest thing I've seen in our industry in years. Like honestly, she goes, I think this addendum's amazing. She raved and raved and raved about it because it's easier for buyers to understand and grasp the fact that, okay, I'm gonna put this money up, and if I don't close, I'm losing it, right? There's just way more language, there's more teeth in this. And it also makes it very, very clear on what types of things can a seller default where I should get my money back, even though it's hard to get back, Tony.
I assume it goes on the catalog too, right?
You can, yeah, you can put JLS on
That
our,
makes it part of the contract.
you can. Question,
So
Josh?
you could use this as a replacement to, like, let's say using earnest money.
Mhm.
Okay. Would that make an offer less stronger versus it's just explaining the contract kind of?
It just explains like a lot more on what is the buyer risking truly, right? And you can separate it. If you still want earnest money deposited and you can get that money back from your contingencies. I have actually seen someone do this. They actually had an inspection and they said, look, we're gonna do the inspection. They put in a 35, they followed the rules and the guidelines exactly right. They didn't just say, you know, buyers allowed to do an inspection for informational purposes only, which you guys all know that's, you do not do that. Because if you don't have the 35 in there, and there's no language in our default boilerplate language to our contracts that states that in the event damage occurs on the property, buyer's responsible for that. We had 2 cases last year where home inspector fell through the ceiling. And then another one, home inspector lodged a camera down their sewer line and then, oh, it broke off and then they left. They didn't tell the seller. Seller came home, started doing laundry, used the toilets, took showers. Next thing you know, everything's backing up. They had to bring out plumbers, emergency plumbers and stuff in the middle of the night and, you know, cost them over $8,000 to fix everything. Or actually, it was more than that because the plumbers accidentally damaged a wall. So they had to have another company come and repair the wall. I mean, all of this occurred because of an inspect. So if you don't have the 35 in the deal, don't allow a home inspection on your seller's property. Otherwise, seller's taking on liability. Robert, you got something? Nope. All right, so don't forget about the non-refundable fee. If you took the non-refundable fee money, you got a non-refundable fee receipt. So that came in, 2021. So same thing, same guidelines, like earnest money, but this is the fee addendum. Question, Elmaz? You look puzzled. You're like, ooh.
I never used the other addendum, that's it, the receipt, always escrow company.
Well, if you touch the
touch
money,
The money, okay.
you touch it,
Got
receipt.
Got
You
it,
have to
got
give a
it.
receipt.
okay,
Cause you wanna know why? Why does the DOL do that? Oh, I gave that money. There was years and years ago, there was some fraud happened. A broker was taking clients' money, earnest money. And they're like, oh, this is weird. Like I gave the check to them. Oh, that's weird. Well, it got cashed. I mean, what a kind of idiot. I mean, give me a break. But if you're touching money, you gotta have a receipt. You touch their check, gotta do it. And don't forget, black out their account numbers on the bottom of checks. We do not
sure.
fax those. Yes, send copies, just cut that off. All right, time to move, right? Closing date. Right, whenever you're picking what date, know that if it's not on closing, right, and avoid the or sooner. or sooner, I know has become a bad habit in our industry. There's a very famous court case to where a seller forced, they literally wrote this on a contract, right? Let's say it was a month out, and all of a sudden, 2 days later, seller's at escrow, and escrow's calling the buyer broker and like, hey, yeah, the seller on your deal is here and she's demanding to sign today and close today. And they're like, what? Well, we don't close for, no, what? No, we just got mutual 2 days ago. Well, what's going on? What do you think, what's really going on? Why would a seller do that?
Got a better offer.
Yeah, they got a much better offer. So they're like, what do you mean you can't, you said or sooner, I'm ready. I'm closing, I'm ready. And escrow's attorneys got together and what does or sooner mean? What does or sooner mean?
Nothing.
What, I don't know. You see, you guys see how that can be dangerous? Annie has a goes into this and it's a tangent, like literally like, don't ever do that. You know, one of the other party can enforce that at any time, is what you're pretty much saying. So just be very, very careful about those words. Can you communicate that in an email? Can you communicate that over the phone? Hey, I know we have this closing date, but you know what? If everything works out with the lender and we're all good, you know what? We might be able to close it, a few days earlier. Does that make more sense rather than whenever? I don't know, Aaron, you like or sooner on
I hate-
contracts?
I hate it.
You hate it?
Because your definition of sooner is my definition of sooner is different, right? Like what date is that on the calendar? I don't see over sooner. You know, like.
It's
if you-
become
I
a
think it's
very
looking
bad
sooner.
habit.
Maybe it's a day or two, but maybe it's a week earlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
right? So it's just hard to really kind of.
Yeah, now. I know, like listing brokers, you guys are gonna get these offers, comes over and you got no other deals, right? Offer comes over, it's good, seller's like, yeah, I wanna accept it, ask like, this is good, I wanna sign it. Are you gonna counter that? Probably not, I mean, you're gonna deal with it, but that's the danger. If you're countering any other thing, I would scratch that out. Or use your form 36 counter offer addendum and change that. Do you have? Oh, I thought I said, raise it. Okay.
Just one more bit on that
Oh, yeah.
too, though. So if you want to close sooner from a lender's perspective, you have to get home insurance on the house, right?
Yeah.
Home insurance has to be in effect
The binder.
before we close. So if you say we're closed on the 24th and we want to close on the 20th. Now we go back to the insurance agent, make sure they got to rewrite the contract, you know what I mean? It's a bunch of stuff, change the premium or whatever. So just kind of be aware of that. Typically, when I do the insurance binders, are always asking a week earlier. Say we're closing a week earlier, just in case that does happen,
Yeah,
we have it covered, so.
alright, so other. Soon as you're marking, if possession is not on closing and you're doing other, you must. Have the rental agreements, whether 65A for pre-occupancy for buyers taking possession before closing, which is cuckoo. Or sellers remaining in the property after closing. Our contracts, our boilerplate language and our contracts already say you're going to execute one of these. If closing is not happening on possession, or if possession's not happening on closing, sorry. You gotta execute this. Our contracts say you're going to. Even if it's one day, Eric, yes. It doesn't matter. Our contracts say that's what's gonna happen. Oh, the seller can't get out. We just had this last week. We had literally in our office. Oh, Eric, they can't get the staging stuff out. They need another day or two. Okay, but the buyer's lock's gonna expire and they can't do anything. If we don't close on Friday, we're screwed. Like, okay, well, you can delay possession, you can close, but you're gonna have to execute the 65B. And they're like, oh, man, okay, so they do that. And of course, they left some stuff in the house, didn't clean it like they said they would, left it a mess. It's like, you might deal with those things anyway, but you gotta do your prior to closing walkthrough. And if possession is not happening on closing, you are executing an addendum. You have to. 9 PM on closing day is possession, right? If it's not happening at then, you better be prepared to execute that. You better have it. All right, time out. We talked a lot about that other stuff, but if we don't establish the Jerry Maguire clause, and if you don't understand this, you're going to be in trouble. And gets missed throughout our industry. It's terrible, terrible. The Jerry Maguire clause is item A in our boilerplate language of every one of our purchase and sale contracts. Form 21, 28, 25, all of them say this. So, purchase price. And it's so important, it's A, right? The first item, right? The attorneys knew that this is like everything. Purchase price, buyer shall pay to seller the purchase price, including the earnest money, in what? Cash at closing, unless otherwise specified in this agreement. So let me pause right there. So first and foremost, every single deal that you guys write is cash by default. It's all cash. That's the very first thing we gotta establish. How many people got a deal and they're like, oh yeah, they wrote the purchase price out and on the far right they wrote cash. Have you seen that? You have, huh? Like, why are they writing it? It's already in our boilerplate language. It's already all cash. You don't have to write that, right? Unless otherwise specified in the agreement. Now we gotta break this down further for you to truly understand the Jerry Maguire clause. Buyer represents that buyer has sufficient funds to close this sale in accordance with this agreement and is not relying on any contingent source of funds. Now let's break down all of these contingent source of funds, because I guarantee it, if you don't ask, you're gonna be in trouble and it's gonna end up being one of these contingent source of funds. Because how many times have you found out when some buyer broker tells you, oh yeah, don't worry, it's all cash? What does it really end up being?
Hard money.
Hard money loan
Or stuff.
or stock money. What about crypto? One of our brokers had the first crypto deal in the whole state of Washington.
Or a gift.
Or gifts.
Or Roth.
Or Roth IRAs. All right, so let's break this down. Any contingent source of funds, including funds from loans. So it's already identifying if you're getting a loan of any kind whatsoever, that's not all cash at closing. That is a contingent source of funds. The sale of other property, right? How many times have you had someone like sell a house? Oh, it's closing in 2 weeks. Oh, but don't worry, it's all cash. The cash is coming from the sale of a property. Gifts, which happens a lot. Retirement or future earnings, 401k, stocks, except to the extent otherwise specified in this agreement. The parties shall use caution when wiring funds to avoid potential wire fraud. Before wiring funds, the party wiring funds shall take steps to confirm any wire instructions via an independently verified phone number and other appropriate measures. This is the Jerry Maguire clause. You must get in the habit of asking every one of your clients, show me the money. I'm kidding. That's not what you're gonna say to a client. If you say that, right? And this is for everything. Like it said, it's earnest money, down payment, all of it. You have to get into a habit of asking, oh, your deposit, what your earnest money, oh, is that in your checking or in your savings account? Why would you ask that?
Cause that's ready to go.
Yeah, because that's immediately withdrawable. Right? Go set up a wire, that could be sent direct. Any one of these other contingent source of funds takes what?
Time.
Time. If you don't get that, you are actually putting your client in breach from the beginning.
Your
Here's
buyer.
one,
Your buyer, yeah.
You're the one that taught me this rule. Literally. I can show you a bank statement with cash in it that, like you said, you can wire out today. That's cash.
yeah, it's gotta be in checkings or savings, or it's not immediately withdrawable.
Cause that was even a like weird point that Eric made when I first came, and was like. Yeah, it's in the stock portfolio. Yes, it can be liquidated in 2 days. Yes, you can have it in your account 3 days from now. That's not cash.
Yeah,
Liquid cash.
Aaron?
Yeah, I stressed about one that last month. It was
that's right.
a $1.8 million purchase, $75,000 earnest money. And the guy's taking money from his 401k to put 700 grand down. And I was started worried about like, well, can you pull the $700,000 out? Yeah. And then I realized when they wrote the contract, there was no contingency of that. They didn't have a contingent fund for it because that's a lot of money out of the 401k when you're 42 years old.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
What if they take a picture of their safe with a bunch of cash in it?
I mean, that's cash, I guess, that works. I have literally in my
I've had
career,
this once in
in my career, I saw the craziest thing ever. And this lady came in and she wanted to buy some property and she had to do earnest. She goes, I don't have earnest money. She goes, all of my money came from my inheritance and it's loose diamonds. And it's like, what?
It's what?
And she diamonds. And she literally had a satchel of diamonds, came in, poured them out in the office, and I'm just, the broker's over here and his mouth is just open, like,
Yeah.
like, what do I do with this? Like, is this fun? Like, yeah, I mean, it is. As long as the seller's cool, we gotta get appraised. 22EF, we gotta disclose that funds are coming from the sale of diamonds, including earnest money, is that, we put and we needed extra time. It works. Livestock, I have seen. Livestock,
Gold
It's-
bars?
gold bar, you could.
TV show.
Actually, I had a client liquidate gold bars for earnest.
Yeah, she's lucky she didn't take it to that dude that was cashing
Oh,
fraudulent checks.
Yeah, no doubt.
He only gave me 2 diamonds.
So get into the habit, this whole thing, like, okay. This is the one that will catch a lot of brokers and they screw this up all the time. DPA. Down payment assistance. When you're filling in 22A, it asks how much is the buyer putting down for DPA? How much are they putting down? What are you filling in? Let's say they're going the FHA DPA program. Is that what's that?
Home ready.
Home ready.
Not home ready, what's it, the home of, whatever, it's the, sorry.
Right?
Home advantage.
3.5 home advance, 3.5% down, right, is the loan, or 3%, I think
Sure,
they're
you
for
get
that
three,
one,
yeah, yeah.
right? So, how much is the buyer putting down for a DPA? What are you writing in on that box for the amount buyer is putting down?
The amount that the DPA is and click FHA and then check other and say money sources for down payment are coming from DPA. No, please.
Well, if you mark the box that DPA, no matter what you have, I don't mind if both boxes are marked FHA, DPA. You don't have to, it's a DPA loan. I mean, it's a DPA program, their down payment assistance is the program, right? I mean, that's what they're utilizing. What are you writing in for how much for down payment? For buyer. It states buyer pay this much down. How much are they really paying down?
0.
0. You know how many times we see 3% or 3.5% in there? Would the buyer be in breach of the agreement if they didn't have the funds?
Yes.
Yeah. All the time that happens. Yeah, I probably see it 90% of contracts when they're going DPA. Or they don't even put DPA. Has this happened to you? Oh, we heard like a few months back, we had a deal in here. Oh, buyer didn't qualify. well, and it's not their fault, the DPA program ran out of money, ran out of funds. Does that happen, Aaron?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's times of the year when funds are low and they can't fund the deals. It happens. Oh, but wait a minute, you guys didn't say they're getting DPA. Oh, you just marked FHA. So buyer did not have the funds. Buyer's in breach of the agreement. Sorry, we're keeping their earnest money.
The DPA, just a side note, a DPA person always has to do an inspection too.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a receipt for an inspection. Have
But
to.
I think on that though, when you read it, when you're trying to figure out if it's zero or down, I think it, on the financing contingency, I think it says. How much are they paying above the loan amounts? Or something like that. I think there's.
We'll
a-
look at it.
Yeah,
You got
there's a version on it. So when you read it, it's kind of, you go, okay, this is why I put zero, but.
Okay, so how do you plan to fund your purchase? This comes from the buyer's guide, right? It literally says in there, it's imperative you share any contingent source of funds for your home purchase with your lender and realtor as early as possible. Proceeds from home sale, future earnings, stock, 401k, retirement funds, gift funds. Andrew?
Some 401k and retirement funds too, there's maturity dates that
Yeah.
you can liquidate that stuff. It's not
Yeah.
like it's your money just because you've been contributing. There's things in there. I experienced one time where somebody thought they could use it, they had no clue, and then when they went to go liquidate it, they couldn't.
Yeah.
They needed to have it some X time.
That's why if you don't know buyer brokers, you've gotta ask the Jerry Maguire clause, is it in checkings or in savings? Is your funds in checking or in savings? You gotta ask that question every single time. Yes,
4.8.
what, Robert? Breaking up.
You think you have the file number?
Oh. All right, don't forget, show me the money, right? If it's all cash, no 22A addendum, right? You've got to include the 22EF, evidence of funds. Fill in the days. This section number 2 is cash. It really is cash still. Even though our contracts are, you guys already know, right? The Jerry Maguire clause defines that every one of our contracts are all cash anyway. If you can provide the proof right up front, you don't have to give 22EF. You're already giving it from the get-go. Annie says that this should be in every deal anyway.
Should
Why would she say something like that?
verifying where the money's come from.
Yeah, how many buyer, you guys already know, like how many buyer brokers are out there? They're not communicating very well. Do they even ask the Jerry Maguire clause to their client? Oh yeah, your money, is in your down payment, your earnest money, are those funds, are those in your checking or in your savings? Did the buyer broker really ask that question to their client? I highly doubt it. I had a broker, her first deal, this is years ago, back in like 2010, 11, somewhere in there. She's like super excited. It was like 550 grand, for this house. And she's like, yeah, this is a great deal. And literally everything went smooth as glass on that whole transaction. Inspection went perfect. Everything was perfect. It's the week of closing. And escrow calls my buyer broker and tells her, hey, I just got a phone call from the buyer's grandmother. And she's really upset. She's refusing to come in to close and bring the down payment funds. Because she found out that her grandson is moving in with his girlfriend. And our buyer broker's like, what? What do you mean, grandma? What? You guys know where this story's going. Oh yeah, that 20% down that the buyer said that they were bringing to close, right? They in the contract, 20% down. That was a gift coming from grandma. Our buyer broker never asked the Jerry Maguire question. Oh, your down payment money, your earnest, is that coming from checking or is that in checking or in savings? And it ended up not closing. They lost the earnest money because of course, the listing broker found out, like, what do you mean? You didn't disclose you're getting gift funds to us. Your contract said that broker quit the business.
Well, that's back to what you had up there, communication.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lender and a broker conversation too, before you even.
Yeah.
For it. Like, so the lender, whoever helped her, should have been like, hey, buyer broker, just so you know that those funds are coming from the grandmother that are the down payment. And then the broker can go talk further to the client about it.
Yeah, the buyer was in breach. The buyer was in breach of the agreement. Grandma lost her money. I can't remember how much it was, 5 grand, whatever, 10 grand. But you guys, these things happen all the time. If you don't ask the question, you're gonna get stung. I promise, it'll happen to you. If you yourself as a buyer broker don't ask the Jerry Maguire question and, you know, is it in checking or in savings? If you don't do that, it will end up stinging you. I promise. The next section is, right, the disclosure of contingent funds. If you're giving a copy of bank statements, please black out account numbers. This one is blacked out, that's good. Totally fine, make sure it includes the actual buyer's name. If it's an LLC, now you gotta backtrack, is the buyer actually a part or a member of that LLC? Are they a managing member? I mean, there's other work you might have to do, but just make sure that it matches. Here's a portfolio, right? That's a portfolio. Is that cash? No. Immediately withdrawable? No. There could be rules to that portfolio. You can't make purchases with this. You can't use that for a purchase. You just gotta be really, really careful. Disclosure of contingent sources of funds. Now, if you are getting a loan or you're selling something, or you're getting a gift and who it's coming from, or it's funds that aren't US funds. Because remember, it says on the front of our contract, US funds. So foreign money that's got to be converted, you've got to mark that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and this is a trick, you know, you probably should do this, is if you are using section 3 at all, you see how it says the default, that buyer has to provide that evidence. It's actually 10 days, if not filled in, prior to closing. How many times are buyers getting their deposit for down payment and stuff like that 10 days before closing? Is that happening? If you leave that at a default, you're actually putting your buyer in breach. So I suggest you put either 1 day or 0. If you put a 0 or 1 in here, this will actually help you. I had a very experienced broker from another company that I know, when we had a transaction going and they had to do this. Our broker wrote it up right. They went to forms class and they learned. And she calls me, goes, your buyer broker put 0 days in here. Why did they do that? I'm like, because we don't want to be late so that you can terminate on us. Right? If seller can actually terminate the agreement on us if the buyer's late with those contingent source of funds. And this broker goes like, oh my gosh, I did not realize, I'm like so used to this section, like, oh, they're supposed to supply it right now. 0 days would be that up there, but this is before closing. That means on the day of closing. If you extend the deal, would they be late? What do you think? Huh?
If you extended the deal?
Yeah,
No.
exactly. So even if you do an extension, they're still not late. Buyer or seller can't terminate it. So maybe 0 days is best for this. So watch out for that. All right, making the deal stronger in Form 21. Information verification period. I left this in here on purpose. I know, our forms are being updated again. I didn't want to update this class just for today with what's in here, what's already current, and then have to update it again. Item W is a very important thing. They've actually changed this now, right? So that it could be waived on the very front page, right? It's very dangerous to do this. I want you guys to understand. Actually, listing brokers do not, when you are having a buyer broker waive the information verification period and they're having a home inspection contingency, that makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. If you're countering something at all, make sure you change that. You want information verification to have maybe the same amount of days as the home inspection contingency. Why am I telling you that? Why would you want to do that?
So they can't come back and say that we waived this and it was incorrect.
Yeah. But what does the information who does the information verification period protect?
So
Let's start there. The seller. What? Why does it protect the seller?
that they're disclosing the right stuff.
Information verification period is used for a buyer to verify anything and everything, including your marketing. Yes, did we help get our buyer out of a deal when they waived inspections? And a very experienced broker, actually, true story. Our buyer is like, you know what, this house is too close to SeaTac. I think I'm gonna hear planes. We checked it out. We're changing our mind. We don't want to buy this house now. What do we do? Our buyer broker came to me like, Eric, how are we gonna get out of this deal? And we're communicating. I'm like, oh, well, let's review the deal. Well, you waived your inspection. Inspection's waived. Oh, Form 17 is waived. Uh-oh, okay, well, let's see if we can find any other things in this agreement that I can get you out on. Well, you got your information verification period. We still have 1 day left on this, literally. We got today left. Can we was there anything that you verified that wasn't accurate? Even in the listing, the buyer was like, oh, well, you know what? Actually, this house, it said that this house had AC and it didn't. We're like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, on the flyer, it says, stay cool during summer or something. The home has AC. And it didn't. So we're looking through the listing. No, it doesn't have AC. We're looking at the photos. And then they're like, no, the house didn't have AC. There's no AC unit. So we said, okay, here's our out right here. We verified, and the buyer goes, oh, I even have the flyer still, see? Boom, here's our evidence. Information verification period. We sent that to that listing broker and she went haywire. She was so bad. We are not letting you guys out of this deal. There's no way you're walking on information verification period, because we have the Form 50 with the 90, whatever it is, T or I don't know, 90 form that basically says buyers, determine an inaccurate information is electing to terminate the agreement based on the information verification period. And that listing broker was pissed. What are you talking about? What is inaccurate? We said, well, you said the home had AC. She goes, the home doesn't have AC. We didn't say that. Email that flyer over. Seller will be signing off on this later this afternoon. Listing broker was like, what the hell? You know what ended up happening? What?
They're persistent, bro.
The marketing person took the last flyer from their previous property template and was just replacing the items, forgot to replace that one item. Home did not have AC. And she actually said, I've never, ever seen this in my entire, 20 years of doing this business. Never had ever seen anybody walk on the information verification period. It actually is used for information verification. But if you are writing an inspection contingency, then don't waive this, because it actually is more protection for a seller. If every single thing is waived and the buyer closes on the deal, what's left for a buyer to do after closing? What can they do? If there's something they figured out that wasn't accurate and they're upset about?
File a lawsuit.
File a lawsuit. That's their only option. Exactly. So why, if we're waiving this, it's actually detrimental for a seller in the future. Because if they went to court and you had the information verification period intact, isn't that also a shield of protection to say, well, buyer, didn't you take the time to verify everything? It is, isn't it? So it's actually a little bit different.
The Form 17 the same as this.
No, because, I mean, yes and no. The Form 17, you get 3 days to write of receipt. Right, to verify, and you can terminate based on Form 17. If you signed off on page 6, line 1. Right, and we're gonna get into that coming up.
The only reason I ask is a lot of. I won't say names, but I've had many people come to me and say, when I'm doing this, I'm just waiving Form 17. No, not the same.
Don't waive it. If you don't have to waive it, why waive it? Doesn't make sense, like, and it's the difference between the disclosure statement and our other stuff in our contracts is Form 17 timeline actually begins from receipt. If you have proof of receipt, like you know for sure, like you call and you're talking to the buyer broker and it's on Monday. And they're like, oh yeah, we got the Form 17 from there, everything looks good. We're gonna be sending you an offer probably tomorrow or the next day. All of a sudden, a couple of days later, right? That comes over, they signed off on Form 17. If you got proof from Monday, that timeline, it starts ticking then. Commencing day, you get 3 days, so you got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. As long as none of those days are holidays, those all count for that timeline for it to be waived from receipt.
Isn't that what we discussed, why some brokers don't upload it and they just, when somebody's like, hey, I don't see that.
They do.
Email it, so if I emailed it to somebody a week
They do.
ago. That's the receipt part.
They do, that is a strategy. I don't know if I agree with that one. To me, I think listings should be fully loaded from the get-go.
For sure.
I mean, no matter what, if someone's waffling and they're pulling out on, on the Form 17, they might have pulled out anyway, I just don't quite get worried about that.
Yeah.
So is it a good, I don't know. It could be maybe for certain properties, certain strategies. I think for the majority of the time, you should have the listing, all the supplements fully uploaded, ready to go. I'd rather have somebody make the decision up front, like, oh, this roof leaked 5 years ago. I don't know if they fixed. I'd rather have them have that from the get-go and not make an offer and waste all of our time anyway. I don't know. That's just me.
For sure.
All right, making the deal stronger in 22A. Yes, this form is updated since then. But like I said, I'm not gonna rebuild this class because we got forms updating again tomorrow. Actually, on the 24th, they get released, but we will be obviously going all of that tomorrow. So make sure you're here for that. So you learn about all the new forms updates. Because we'll be going over all of the red line forms.
Or at least it say the DPA thing on there that we were talking about.
It's not, that's what I'm saying. This is the old form. This is the old one. That's what I'm saying.
The 22A that's in the system right now says that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's been updated. I've taught this class many times through the years, and so I've replaced it out. But I do have to update it. As soon as the brand new forms come out on the 24th, I'll update this class, because I just don't want to do it twice.
Which forms are they changing?
A lot of updates. It just says that buyer will make loan application, right? Pay the balance of the purchase price, pay the application fee if required for subject property within how many days, right? But how much down, type of loan types, all of those matter. The loan type, the amount down. Really what things are gonna come down to is the buyer fully underwritten approved, right? If they're fully underwritten approved, you could waive financing, you gotta be careful about appraisal, but that is a way, but you should not be waiving financing if they're not fully underwritten approved. Why?
Still a chance that it could fall apart.
Yeah, there's a chance it could fall apart.
It always falls apart until the, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, we do verification of employment, he works at Amazon, right? And also now,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, so I understand why people do it and I totally agree. I mean, sometimes you just have to, you gotta go on it but if you have it fully underwritten and ready to go, then you're obviously the client can make that decision. But
Yeah.
just you feel more confident knowing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Loan information, this has changed and updated as well. Default, remember it used to be 10 days, it's 21 days. 2A or 2B, right? These are the two different ones, seller's right to terminate. Totally different. Now, right, that's broken out into an automatic waiver. So you could also do it that way, 0 days in the automatic waiver if they're fully underwritten approved. Cause because of the Jerry Maguire clause that we have to, what? Otherwise specify in our agreement what is happening if buyer's getting a loan. 22A is the form for that if they're getting a loan. You could use 22EF and not use a 22A. But then there's dangers of what?
Oh, appraisal.
Low appraisal. What do you do if there's a low appraisal? The buyer's responsible for the difference if you're going that route. So it will make things stronger, so you just gotta be careful.
Yeah, the automatic box one that got me,
Oh, I know.
because I looked at it and I thought we had more time, and it's like, oh, we automatically wait, okay. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it is, it's just, yeah.
yeah, automatic,
I'm
seller's right to
comfortable when they're gonna
terminate.
do that, so we can at least get most of it done before.
Yeah, I know that, so automatic waiver is in there in the updated form. Obviously, you're asking for closing costs, you're in a multiple offer situation, you're probably not gonna do that. Skipping that. Appraisals less than sales price, this is the thing that, if you're going to include a 22A. You can use a 22AA with all cash, literally got this question over the weekend. 22AA is just the appraisal amount, if you wanted to do that. The buyer felt like the price was a little too high, they're willing to pay it as long as an appraiser will prove, that it is worth that, so you can do that. It is available to you. If you're in multiple offer situations and you're worrying about appraisal, I'm thinking that's probably a lost cause. You're not a lost leader. You're not gonna do that. So just be mindful about that. Limited waiver of financing, right? Contingency in AW, that is available for the limited waiver. Buyer waives financing contingency sent forth in financing, appraisal less than sales price, paragraph 7 of financing addendum, appraisal less sales price survives. So you can do that. They've kind of squashed that when they built 2B, right? 2A and 2B in the updated form. And there is even more updates coming to 22A. So again, be here tomorrow so we can review those together. But it is also an option. Or like to call this the, right? Frickin' Russian roulette. No 22A financing addendum at all. I mean, if you do that and the buyer's getting a loan, you've got to disclose it somewhere. I've seen some deals even written this way. Purchase loan, seller agrees to permit the buyer's lender or appraisers to access the property in the event buyer elects to obtain purchase loan. This agreement is not conditioned on buyer obtaining a purchase loan. However, buyer's source of funds is a mortgage on said property in addition to down payment. These are risky. We've seen these come about. Again, if you do anything like this, you're risking obviously low appraisal. You're risking, if lenders can't close on time, can't get docs to escrow on time. A lot of risks involved doing this types of route. I do not agree with them. I think there's much safer routes, 22EF. I mean, gonna do that, at least that is a better route, Andrew.
Well, it's not transparent for the seller to make a decision either.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that's
they don't
true.
know, like, what kind of loans this person getting, how much cash
Yeah.
they actually got, like,
Yeah,
all.
oh, exactly. We had a deal a couple years ago. Buyer broker, basically the buyer was getting like a 5% down or 3% down. It was like a loan, and here they had other offers for 20 and 25%. They went with theirs because it was higher money, but they waived, what they didn't even have a 22A. They just did 22EF and they accepted it. It's like they're getting, and they disclosed they got a loan. They're fine. If you accept that, seller, because they were upset, like, hey, this deal, they're only gonna put like 3% down?
Well, I think
What?
we provide the pre-approval, do
Yeah.
the 22 EF, let them know that you're getting a loan. But then you just do the appraisal. It's actually, for your buyer, it's not bad, especially if they're already,
Fully underwritten, approved, yeah,
Pre-underwritten.
right, pre-underwritten,
then, you know, what if they wanted to, switch lenders? Obviously, you don't want them to do that if they're
Yeah.
already pre-underwritten. But it takes the seller can't terminate the deal. There's no, like, they can't reach out with the 22 AR. So, I mean, there's advantages on the buyer side, right? As long as you're disclosing. But
exactly.
you just gotta set expectations for your buyer of like risk. But if your buyer's up for the risk, they just want the house.
Yeah. All right, let's give you a pop quiz. What's stronger? What would you rather take, listing brokers? Here's a 25% down deal, conventional, or a 3% down payment, fully underwritten, approved loan. The other one says pre-qualified letter.
I'm taking another.
I don't know who has more earnest money.
one.
Yeah.
That too, but if it's like if they have no docs in, I'm not taking it.
Right. Who cares how much it says they were put down? There are some brokers and some other companies got in trouble, I heard, for a strategy of basically writing in multiple offer situations. Oh yeah, buyers
Fully under.
40% down. Nothing about their approval, nothing. 40% down. Oh, can you get the approval letter? Yeah, we'll get that after, mutual and. Oh, we got mutual. Wait a minute, your approval says 5% down. What is this? Oh, no, they're gonna put more down now. All of a sudden, deal comes to closing. How much did they bring in? 5%. They got busted for that.
Well, that just goes back to what we were talking about, the evidence funds.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm listing a house, if the person's fully underwritten or whatever. Can you show me where the down payment's coming from? I
Yeah,
ask it every single time.
yeah,
And if
because
they
you
don't-
know they're not asking it. They're not
They
asking
don't
the
want
Jerry
to.
Maguire clause.
To me, that's a red flag.
Would you ever call the lender though?
What's that?
Did you call the lender?
Every
Them too.
time.
I call the lender and ask them if they verified all the information, and then even after I get that information, I still ask the buyer broker to have the buyer supply me evidence of those funds that have been verified by all parties.
Yep. All right, time to talk 22 AD.
I would do that.
So in the 22 AD, you can increase your down payment, right, for a low appraisal. Do not forget, if you go this route, you are predetermining what will happen in the event of a low appraisal. So you can't send a 22 AN. If you send that, right, oh, the appraisal still came in low. Even from the difference of the gap of the money, you can't send a 22 AN at all. You have to use what's called the 22 ADN. We've seen that happen so many times. 22 AD, you're predetermining what's gonna happen. Like purchase price is 500 grand, you're writing it for 50,000 over. You put 50 grand on your 22 AD, you're saying you're covering the full difference of what list price to purchase price was, right? Sometimes it's not always that way, there might be a difference. Or what if the appraisal comes in at 450? Now it's 100 grand low. Buyer's not bringing 100 grand, right? So do CMAs, yes, gotta do a CMA on that property for you to understand, like, is it really worth what we're offering? Buyer, is it gonna be a good idea to put that much down? Be prepared, but you are determining what will happen in that event. Now, there's a very famous deal that I don't remember if they tried suing Northwest MLS or they threatened to sue Northwest MLS on this one, but it was a east side deal. 1.5 million, 1.8 million, something like that. And multiple offers came in. First deal came in, and in the middle of, I guess, the transaction, another offer came and said, man, my buyer wanted this house so bad, they were willing to pay 2 million for it or whatever. all cash, closing, 7 days, 1 week. And the listed broker's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, really? Why didn't you guys put a backup offer in? Okay, we will. So they did. So they're sitting there. Guess what? This form used to have the words, and I know this is an older one, I don't remember if it says it still. Let's see, hold on. If buyer becomes aware of the sum of land appraised value, and buyer finds the less than buyer shall. Oh, it is the old one. Okay, perfect. So number 2, it says, buyer's notice to seller. If buyer becomes aware that the sum of lender's appraised value and B, buyer's additional funds is less than the purchase price, buyer shall, so they had the words shall in here, deliver written notice to seller of that fact, including a copy of the lender's appraisal within 3 days of not filled in. Next section, seller right to reduce the price or terminate. If seller receives the above notice from buyer, seller may. I want you guys to really understand the differences between the words shall and may. Shall means what?
Maybe you have to.
Shall means you have to. Shall says you have to. May means you don't have to, you may, you can, or you don't have to. I love the fact that I have this old form in here because the new form did get updated after this issue. Here, let me finish this part first and then I'll tell you guys what happened. Seller may deliver notice to buyer within 3 days, either A, reducing the purchase price to an amount equal to the lender's appraised value plus buyer's additional funds, or B, terminating the agreement, in which case the earnest money shall be refunded to buyer. If buyer waives the financing contingency and the financing addendum 22A, buyer shall be obligated to purchase property for the purchase price. You guys know where I'm going with this story on what happened? You have an idea?
So I'm guessing that the lender's appraised value wasn't in yet and they still delivered it.
No, it wasn't. Remember, because they got notice that the appraised value was actually less than the amount of purchase price plus the down payment, or excuse me, plus the additional down payment, the
Okay.
AD money. So let's just do it for, for easy calculation purposes. Let's stick with the 500,000 purchase price. Let's say it was 500,000 list price. They did for 550. And they put 45,000 on the AD. And the actual appraisal plus the down payment money was only $5,000 low difference. So what would that be? It would be 50 grand less, right? So appraisal came in at 450,
So basically,
or excuse me, 500, wait,
545.
yeah,
no, appraisal came in less,
less.
right?
Yeah.
The difference from appraisal and the additional down payment money was 5 grand. Same type of scenario, very little money on this multi-million-dollar deal. So they sent the notice and said, here you go, just letting the seller know that it was low plus our AD. And what do you think happened?
Yeah, back
They
off.
immediately terminated. Remember they had that backup offer for like 2 million?
Oh,
Terminate them. They're like, whoa, what are you doing? My buyer would pay it. Like, no, you said, sorry. Can you believe? So they actually updated the form. The new form itself actually replaced if buyer becomes aware, lender's praise shall deliver. Now it says may deliver. They actually changed the word.
They don't have to if they don't.
They don't have to, they don't want to. They could have paid the difference.
Yeah.
They were so upset.
But even on the notice that they send.
They set the
it's-
22 ADN. They did.
No,
and
but
it's-
no. I'm talking about on the appraisal notice that
Mhm.
they sent. doesn't it say like you're requesting what you're asking the seller to do?
Remember this, that you're thinking
That's just the-
22A, AN. You're thinking
Oh,
on the
AD, 'cause it's
AN form.
predetermined.
This, if you use the AD at all, you're predetermining what's gonna happen in the event of a low appraisal. And when you do that, you give power back to a seller to terminate on you. A lot of brokers miss that whole concept. They miss that whole piece. Yes, it has been changed now that where they may do that. So you have to counsel your buyer. Hey, buyer, we got a low appraisal and the AD money that you're covering. Even with that added, it's actually, there's still a delta. So do you want to cover that amount, or do we want to risk sending this back to the listing broker and sell it? Andrew?
I had two scenarios that I can remember that I had clients that wanted to do the AED, and I'm like, no, that's not the strategy that we're gonna do here, because I saw that the listing broker was sleeping at the wheel and didn't know these forms like I did. I'm like, we're gonna make the offer to get them thinking they're getting the most money,
Yep,
and then the appraisal's gonna come in low. I already know it is.
yep.
And then we're gonna let me do my job and renegotiate at that point in time, and you're gonna come out ahead.
Yeah.
Both times we made out in that scenario, so.
And they came in low because you did a CMA and you know the property, know the area, know the market. Sometimes
They wanted
just,
to do this because they're like, we want this house. I'm like, I know, but my conversations lead me to show you how we're gonna negotiate this better for you.
So they did that, so those clients would do something like that because you're like, hey, I can squeeze another $5,000 from the seller, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, look, it came in low, we can cover it, but let's just ask if they'll pay for it. When they've sewn it back in, oh, we're terminating because we have another deal.
yeah. That happened.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't know the forms.
They don't know you don't know the form. And now, in their defense, the Windermere, I mean, they were upset because they were like, Northwest MLS, you said, the form says we shall.
Yeah.
There is no dispute on if we have to send it or not. That's attorney drafted language.
Yeah.
So they were pissed. And I mean, rightfully so.
Yeah.
When the forms committee got together and they actually, went over this thing, they changed the verbiage to May. So the new form says May on the 22 AD.
But if they would have just kept going,
Yeah.
Exactly.
because they should have read number 3 for
They
this.
should have read that and understood it. Not knowing the forms can seriously be detrimental to you in your career. That's why we still stick and do forms, classes all the time in here. You have to. You gotta know them better than your competition. All right, 35E escalation. I mean, how much are you increasing the offer to in the max amount? I mean, you might as well tell your buyers, if you're gonna use the form, you're probably gonna escalate to that max amount. Because if there's any other escalation addendums in your competition, both of those offers go to the top amount, and then it works backwards on who's gonna get it. And do not forget, when you're calculating these now, I mean, why the form's updated, because compensation is a part of that credit. I was talking to a very experienced broker just a few weeks ago. Actually, when I was in San Francisco, they called me and they go, I'm trying to do the calculations on this form and send it back, but I want to know if I'm doing this right. This is really complicated. I go, yeah, that's why do you think Annie was saying that you should just counter people and not even do this? Because if the calculations are incorrect, you could end up, the buyer can notify you and then you got to get it right. I mean, it could be dangerous. So escalation addendums are, it's one of those things, like, they're gonna come into play. And it is a good idea because you do get a copy of that other competing offer and you do get a chance to see that it was legit, right? That it was a valid offer, but it's dangerous as soon as you're in there. All right, quiz time. No inspection equals no 35 inspection addendum, right? Right? No. Yeah. Just like we talked about earlier, listing brokers do not allow anyone to inspect your seller's home without that 35 in there. If it's not in there, and you're allowing someone in there, the seller is taking on all of the liability and responsibility for damages or issues that happen. Just don't allow it. If a pre-inspection, right, if they're waiving the inspection, make sure they mark the waiver box. Same thing for pre-inspection. If they're gonna do a pre-inspection, they do the pre-inspection before, make sure the 35W has the pre-inspection box marked. You know how many times we see those come over, like, oh, they did a pre-inspection and they mark waiver? Don't do that. It says right here that a buyer prior to mutual acceptance conducted an inspection. It's accurate to what really happened. So make sure that that's accurate. We see this all the time. So pre-inspection agreement, make sure that gets signed off by the seller. Form 35, obviously, mark the box. 5 days or less, weekends and holidays do not count. Other MLS forms, 22J, if they waive it, you know, that's fine. Do not forget, built prior to 1978. You must include 22J. It is a federal form. Form 17, also to make the deal, you know, stronger. You know, if you're getting a disclosure statement filled out from a seller, your buyer must sign line 1, because that is the actual acknowledgement. All of this is for this line. If buyer also wants to sign off on number 2 to waive the right to revoke their offer based on the seller's disclosure, you can also sign on that. Don't sign on 3. If don't ever sign on 3. You know how many like Form 17s we've seen come over here and all 3 lines are signed off on? Have you seen that, Gracie? Was in your head? Gerwinder's shaking their head too. What are you doing? It literally says buyer's right to receive a completed disclosure statement. And if any of the yeses in the environmental section, if there's any yeses in there, a buyer can't even sign off on that box anyway. The only time you're probably signing off on that is usually 2 reasons. 1, it's a bank-owned deal. They've never lived in the property. They're not making any disclosures. That's usually there. Or 2, it's a scenario where the seller has dementia or is incapacitated to, they cannot fill out a disclosure. Like my own deal right now, seller had stroke and she can't fill it out. Just can't communicate right, doesn't remember things. There's no way that there could even fill out something like that. So you're probably going to be in the scenario where you're going to have them sign off on section 3. All right, okay, now that you've given up your firstborn, buyers, do not forget,
Question.
yes,
Back to the Form 17, in the events of if there's not a box that's checked, what happens then?
then you can ask that the seller to redisclose, fill it out, make it completed.
If you're a buyer
Oh, I know where you're going.
and there's missing information on there, even if it's an NA or doesn't, like, something that doesn't pertain, isn't that a redisclosure at that point of the 3 days?
It is, but attorneys will tell you too, you can't hold on to that like a trump card, like, oh, they missed, they didn't answer the starred yes question on page 5. Ooh, we got an out. You know, if you try to hold on to that, it's not gonna work. We had one of our sellers missed one of those, didn't say yes, and they missed one of the boxes, because the rule to the form is the seller must mark one of the boxes, no matter what, per line, must be marked, one of the 4 boxes. Yes, no, don't know, or NA, not applicable. One of those 4 must be marked, no matter what, seller. And then also, if any of these starred questions is a yes, you must explain on page 5. Those get missed all the time. Our seller missed it. It's like the week of closing and they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, your seller missed this answer on the Form 17 and they missed this box. Can you have them redisclose? Our listing broker is like, Eric, my seller missed this. What do we do? Do I just go ahead and fill this out? I go, no, don't do that. If you redisclose, what happens?
Or the clock starts back over.
Yeah, the right of redemption starts back over, 3 days, right of redemption, right to terminate, starts all over again. We got one of our buyers out last year. Back in like November, on a deal. Listing broker, very experienced, didn't understand the rules of the form. They did it, made the change, sent it back. We terminated. They were very upset, like, sorry, you just gave the right.
Wouldn't that be the card that you're saying that you can't?
Well, they didn't know it, they didn't hold on to it. I mean, how do you do that? Well, you know, it's gonna come down to each transaction, yeah. You don't want that hanging out there, you really don't. So, I mean, asked our buyer broker, like, did you review this? Did you see it? And they're like, no, I didn't. I looked at it, but I didn't catch it. I didn't see the yes question, and I definitely didn't see the box missed. So you're not supposed to do that, right? But in our scenario where it was flipped and they're asking us to redisclose, what we told them was like, okay, yeah, here, we're gonna send you an email from the seller. Seller's gonna explain what that was. Here you go. Here's an email. Did they redisclose?
Clarified.
They clarified it. So they couldn't do that to us. So you might be in that situation, you just gotta be careful. If buyer's waiving a bunch of contingencies, do not forget that buyer's advisory. If you use our transaction desk and you're using the buyer package, this is already in there for you, right? For every single time in transaction desk, you just create a new transaction in the forms pack, select that and for buyers, and it's already in there. Okay, other ways to improve odds of winning multiple offer situation. Submit a personalized handwritten cover letter, video from your buyer. In addition, include your resume, team's resume, or your lender's resume. Love letters, right? Don't allow the other broker, a fax machine, or an email to be your buyer's sole voice. Remember what we talked about towards the beginning of this session? Like, you gotta communicate. All right, time for a quiz. Can you write the letter for the buyer? What? Why not? No,
You're not the buyer.
you cannot write these letters. Most of the times, you're gonna do fair housing violations in them. You'll see them all the time. Oregon tried to ban these. In fact, they did it for a little while. They actually temporarily banned them. The Realtors Association came in and fought that and squashed it. Like, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't tell a buyer can't send a letter of communication, or a love letter about their offer. You
No,
can't stop
Wouldn't
that.
Annie say, don't send it?
No, you have to send it.
No,
Don't
I'm
read
talking
it.
about
She might say,
recommending whether or not to write a love letter on behalf of your client.
oh, no, you
Or
cannot.
not us writing it, but I'm just saying, transmitting that as part of an offer, should you do love letters?
Hey, I mean, they work.
I mean, I know they.
They absolutely work.
I mean, but like I have it in my offer recommendations, not instructions, but just don't send them. I don't wanna see them. I don't wanna pass them.
Oh, as a listing broker.
As a
Yeah,
listing
yeah.
broker, but I'm saying as the buyer, I just,
Did you make that decision or did your seller?
well, that's why I'm asking. I wanna say that I talked to, or not I talked to, but in one of the sessions that Annie did, she was like, don't do this, don't have your client look at them, don't have them write them. And so when I go through the offer recommendations, I go through it with my client, like, hey, this is what we recommend.
Long as the seller is fully aware, like what the dangers are and what, because they pull on heartstrings. We've had someone in here win literally multiple offers. They weren't the best offer, but they found out they were a military family. And this was a military seller. And they connected on that level. And they're like, I want them to win this house.
But that right there, isn't that a fair housing?
It is, absolutely, but can you stop humans from? This is the rules, so you have a statutory duty to provide all written communications to your principal. That's the law, like you have to.
Yeah. But
Is it a good idea? No, a lot of times it's not. There's fair housing violations in most letters.
But even if they pick it, even if they
Make
didn't
their
tell
decision.
you that's why they picked it, then fine, you didn't do anything wrong. But the second they say, oh, I picked this because they're a military family. Right? Now I'm liable for the shit.
You're not,
I
you're not.
thought the love letters were like discouraged, cause I feel like studying, I really, like, I saw something about the love letters, and I was like, oh, okay, then it's like, just, it's not like something you should be doing.
It's dangerous, it is, Quasey's right, it's dangerous, it's like, there's fair housing by. Our clients, you know, they'll say things and put us, like, you can't say the word family. You can't say within walking distance, cause what if someone, you know, has a disability and they're in a wheelchair, they can't walk? That's offensive to them. There's these little things like we don't really think about, like, you know, that are in these letters that the client, if they do it, they're allowed to. It's just, you're gonna be dealing with these situations. And it's just gonna come down to a case by case scenario is if it's a good idea or not. I know plenty of buyer brokers out there that have their clients do these and they win a lot. I don't know, I mean, it is a strategy. Listing brokers, how do you handle multiple offers? Well, you better have your consultation with your seller and have the dialogue. Have a way to break down all multiple offers so you can really weigh all of the main points out. We have these available. I know some people that are using ChatGPT and they're uploading these each offer, saying this is the offer from the Smiths. This is the offer. I want you to give me a complete Excel based on all of the offers and all the contingencies on it and give us the strengths of whose offer is better. I mean, it works.
The financial tools have a pretty good breakdown too that I was tinkering with,
Oh, yeah.
and your title company might too. And
When you're using the escalator, there is the escalation tool in Northwest MLS and it does this same type of thing. So you can use that as well. All right, final quiz time. I know we're like 5-6 minutes over, sorry. Final quiz, this is your final. This is real. How do you win 100% of all multiple offers?
List the house.
That is ding, ding, ding.
Asked and
number one
answered, nice job.
Be the listing broker. Have you taken this class before, Andrew?
Another thing I was gonna say that I add in my multiple offers too, is if you have a bunch of solid reviews from clients. I include that in there to show like, hey, we're gonna make this seamless, we're gonna make it pleasant. I have numerous validations from clients saying
Yeah.
the same thing that you and your seller are looking for.
What's Andrew doing? He's creating what?
Evidence of success.
What's the word? We said at the very beginning,
Communication.
what?
Certainty.
Certainty. Remember that right at the beginning of this course, we did about that.
Write that out in
Yeah.
the body of the email, showing that.
You're creating
that's what you
certainty.
did.
All right, being the listing broker, and that's another class. All right, thank you guys for making it today. Appreciate you all. Hopefully you picked up some things.
The new forms classes tomorrow.
New forms class tomorrow. Yep, don't miss it. We're going over all the changes and it's right after a Waffle Wednesday. You get breakfast and then a class. I mean, give me a break.